It's part 16 of the Dark Elves Abridged, where last time we dealt with a lot of issues. We had plague, we had rebellions, and some back and forth with the Lizardmen. The most important achievement was A, not dying, and B, taking out all of the Lizardman stuff to our north, which simplifies our strategic situation. Now we have less border to deal with. But we are still being attacked, as you can see. Right here, the next thing that happened was a Lizardman army down at the bottom of the map attacked this barely defended settlement, and we just lose it. Well, we don't actually lose the settlement, that is. They sack it, and then they move north, back towards the action where we actually have Itzo's capital under siege, so perhaps they want to go and check in on that. But it's too late, because our reinforcement is already here, and if you recall, the garrison inside the town has been suffering from Skaven plague for a while. So they're actually in really bad condition, as you can see here. With my 2 stacks, I was expecting this to be a completely in my favour balance bar. Instead, it's really uncertain. It might be good, it might be really bad. So that's pretty annoying. I was so sure the enemy have less than 1 army. I've got like 1 3/4 armies. Surely I don't have to actually do this. And after a long time decided to risk it for a biscuit and go for the auto-resolve. And while we did lose a couple of units, mostly things are alive, and that's all that matters, even though our losses overall were pretty strong. Because of our extreme replenishment, we'll just get all of that stuff back right away, and overall that was fine in the end. Locke here, having done his little jaunt up to the north, needs to start coming back to deal with general things. At first, I was going to send him due south to go attack the Lizardmen, but then I thought actually I could bring him over to the east to try and take back Tlenkan once again from the Elves, and generally defend against the Elves who are still in the area. There are 1.5 Elf stacks in the sea right now. Here's one of them. You may remember I was trying to just distract them constantly with Black Arcs, giving them something to kill and making them waste time by not being able to do it. But actually in this case, that plan failed during the end turn sequence, as we'll see. We also lost that Subiton place to a rebellion, but that's better than losing it to the Lizardmen, because the rebels won't build anything there. We can just go get that place back at some point at our leisure later on. The issue we have in this general area is that both of our main armies now have Skaven Plague as well, and that actually counteracts what I said earlier. We can't instantly replenish these forces because you're not allowed to replenish while you have the Plague. This other reinforcement army can go back in that general direction to deal with the Elves not having taken my bait, which we'll look at again in a second, and these 2 armies need to just try not to die. I don't think there's anything you can do once you have the Plague. The only thought I had was to get peace with the Lizardmen so I could just safely sit here for 10 turns and then come back once we're over the Plague and at full strength and in good positions and stuff. But no, we cannot end the war, even though I think we are certainly winning. The AI doesn't seem to think so. So yes, here's that Elf situation I alluded to. Their fleet/army has come down to be near the Awakening and is just sitting in the sea there. So they haven't taken my bait, and now they might actually be able to take the place, or even the Blood Swamps just down the coast. In their turn, they land and they attack this one beast man who was outside the Awakening. I'm allied to them, so I have the chance to help, but we certainly don't want to do that with this army. So we let that guy die, and then they do come and besiege the town. So that's pretty annoying. We're far away from having any support in that area. And here's something else that's pretty annoying. 2 Chaos armies have appeared in our home province. So around here, the only place that's really defensible is Marks of the Old Ones, where we've done a couple of defenses before. And that's inland, so the 2 coastal settlements are in big trouble against these 2 Chaos armies. Not much we can do about that either, since we just don't have forces and we don't have money, so we're going to rush Yadis over here back in that general direction to help, now replenishing luckily enough, but she won't arrive in time to stop them attacking us. And we also saw I sent some trash up towards the Elvish siege as well. With Shadesman, I could go to the west and attack the Dwarves right here. They're also suffering from Skaven Plague, but I didn't want to get them involved. I wanted to finish off Itza. That's more difficult because their 2 regions are across various mountains and behind Dwarvish territory directly. But what I can do is go to the east, to the south, and then to the west again to enter Lizardman territory via a long route. So that will be what Shadesman does. Now then, in the Chaos turn, here we go really, they're just going to start killing us. Our garrison isn't necessarily big enough to do anything here, but I did want to fight this battle because I noticed they've got a Hell Cannon and we have Dark Riders. Dark Riders can Vanguard deploy as we've seen before, so I was immediately thinking, well, I can just throw them behind the enemy army at the start and at least take out that artillery to help out with future battles. This plan did not work because they sent these dogs backwards towards my cab who appeared at the last second. I thought maybe we could bring them down, but long story short, we can't as it turns out. It's a kind of even melee and we eventually lose it. So that artillery is going to go unmolested, unfortunately. And as for the rest of the battle, well, I did put some effort into fighting the enemy, but because we can't kill any full units, we can't make any particular progress. One thing I did try to do is get my Death Hag through to the back here, because the enemy commander is a sorcerer, and he's going to be weak to melee attacks like the Death Hag provides, so potential to kill him, and every attack does take off a lot of health. The only issue is we're being spammed by other troops who are distracting the Hag. As for the army, well, it's getting killed in a variety of interesting and colourful ways. After being killed by the Lizardmen and the High Elves for pretty much the whole campaign, it's interesting to see someone else killing us with some slightly different techniques. Anyway, so my spammed attempts to try and attack the sorcerer didn't seem to be working. I wasn't able to get much more damage on him. I think the nearby marauders are distracting the Hag too much. Tried to throw down this Black Ark attack, but the sorcerer moved slightly just as I targeted it, so he didn't get killed by it. And my Death Hag routs, so that's the end of that really. And that is the end of this battle, as the enemy just absolutely overwhelmed us. They had numbers and strength on their side for this one. So here's the final result. It was kind of annoying here because you can see their Hounds of Decay are at full strength, whereas in the battle they were down past half of their health bar, and it really highlights the annoying difference between battle strength and campaign map strength because of how it factors in average health in battles but not on the campaign map. Anyway, the place gets razed, so that's bad news, and Mangrove Coast is facing pretty much the same situation. Didn't feel like trying anything with this one, so I'm just going to go for the auto-resolve. We lose, and Mangrove Coast raised, Chipotle raised, so little of it left. You'd be amazed. We are in trouble here, and those two Chaos armies are just going to carry on, so at some point it would be nice to stop them. We'll need to bring down Yadis's army, but the issue with that is we're now bankrupt. So once again I failed to get that replenishment I was talking about. In fact, we're taking attrition on all of our armies. And that bankruptcy is just caused by losing those two territories, of course. So we need to bounce back fast. We need to lose armies or gain territory right now. Logkit has arrived at Temple of Tlenkan, but annoyingly, it's got not only a decent enough garrison, but there is a half stack inside as well. So we don't just auto-resolve the place to death like I thought we were going to. This is a more serious endeavour. I left that for now to check some other things before I forgot. Firstly, I wanted to reinforce the Awakening, so we've now got these troops here, and just like our previous siege defense at the Awakening, we can rely on those troops to just appear inside the castle or inside the town if the enemy attack. However, I started getting a bit ambitious here. I thought what I wanted to do is get these 4 units in the Black Ark into the reinforcement stack so they can also take part in the battle. I had this idea that maybe someone had told me in the comments there was some way to transfer units from an arc to an army that's next to it. So here I am, kind of just clicking around, trying to find out what is that way, or is there a way at all. As it turns out, I'm pretty sure there isn't, or maybe there is and I still don't know what it is, but after clicking on enough things, I end up with my land army in the sea, and that is the worst possible outcome to that experiment, because stuff in the sea doesn't count as reinforcements for stuff happening on land next to it, meaning we actually haven't reinforced the Awakening after all of that effort. We've just got a whole bunch of stuff costing us money sitting just outside that can't help out. If only it was an earlier game, they would be able to come in as naval reinforcements. Now, leaving that aside, jumping back to the Temple of Tlenkan, this attack is certainly doable because the elven garrison isn't that good and it's going to be a standard field battle, so the usual shade strategy is probably going to go a long way here. Reaper bolt thrower bolts also go a long way, and that's going to help us out as well. The enemy had a long range unit here. They had this horse arch unit, and it's sniping at my spears while staying out of range of my super long range shades, which I thought was a bit surprising. So I have to move the spears back to bait them in, and now the shades will kill those guys for us. Looks like the bolt throwers are already doing that to the center of the enemy army, but they're coming in on the left with some flyers. This phoenix in particular has gotten behind our shades line. Luckily, I thought something like that might happen, so I had 2 units of dark shards behind the army, and we pop a net to trap the phoenix and can then pick up some free damage. This cav charge is going to be facing difficulties. Not only is it half killed by shades before it even arrives, but it charges into the Hydra, and that's perfect for us because now it's just kind of stuck there in front of the shades and it's going to get shot a lot more, plus the Hydra will kill them as well. Then the enemy dragon uses its breath attack on the Hydra, but that probably kills a load of its own men, assuming that thing has friendly fire. And there's my breath attack, it worked again, only killing a few spearmen, kind of a waste really, but just seeing it work is amazing enough. Now their dragon comes to land in amongst our shades, and that's going to be more annoying because it might just gradually kill the shades, but we'll come back to that guy in a second. Meanwhile, the enemy's infantry body is facing huge difficulties, both from the shades, the bolt throwers, and the Sword of Chaos magic attack, which is ripping them apart. And at the back, their archers aren't having a good time because of our Black Arc abilities and our ranged fire as well. Over here, Loki has killed the dragon already with his Sword of Cain. He's got the plus 1000 damage thing going on, meaning he just kills single targets like instantly. So the dragon is down. The phoenix have come over here as well, but Loki lands and kills it instantly as well. So we are taking out the high value targets. Looks like their melee hero is trying to get into combat here, but is probably being stun locked too much by being shot, and he routs as well before he gets anywhere near actually using any of his strength. Perfect, that balance bar swinging in our favour. You really love to see it when these high elves have been so annoying and now they're just being absolutely dominated by our improved armies. Here we are towards the end. Loki lands to take out their commander. He's about to do it, but his animation kind of cancels or glitches there, and he actually doesn't do an attack, causing the battle to end before he can bag the kill. Not that that matters at all, because that was a settlement battle, so everybody dies at the end. It only gives us a close victory despite the fact we absolutely stomped them. I think someone mentioned on another video somewhere that it's because if you lose ammunition that counts as losses, so with our shades shooting off all of their bolts, that gives us a close victory even with absolute stomps like that. Anyway, Temple of Tenkan is ours once again, but for how long? I decided with Shadesman to actually not attack the Lizardmen like I had planned to do, because I started thinking both the elf situation at the Awakening and the chaos situation could go wrong at any second. I might need to pull everything to actually try and get out of these sticky situations. And here at the Awakening, indeed the elves do attack while my half stack of support troops is just next to the Awakening but unable to participate because of my meddling. I should not have tried to do anything. Still, we have a free stack of troops and walls to use, so might as well try and bag some kills here at the very least. For this one I decided to experiment with not doing the usual sacrifice strategy. I've got everything inside the walls this time to see how it goes. One thing informing that was the fact the enemy brought a lot of rams, so I expected the gates to go down. Therefore I kept troops back to basically just defend the road behind the gate. Feeling like being outside the castle is just going to get us killed, and then they'll go through the gate anyway. Might as well defend inside the castle where we can also shoot them with our ranged units. In the meantime though, our towers will pick up some free kills as the enemy advance. They do have some bolt throwers which are causing some issues up on the walls. That's where a lot of my melee units actually are, in the wall position facing the other direction, ready to be used once the enemy climb up with ladders. Although to start with, they're mostly just getting shot because the enemy do have a lot of archers. On the left here, or the enemy's left, they've got a bunch of cav and they move them over to the gate, ready for when the gate's opened. But that's great, because they've moved them over so early, our archers will just be shooting them and they just sit there doing nothing, so that's free damage. And as you can see, many of the ram pushers are getting obliterated by the towers. They're quite strong units, so they don't die that easily, but we're doing big damage. I sent a unit of Dark Riders out of one of my gates to try and take out that bolt thrower. Looks like they've got a phoenix and a dragon on our wall now, so this could be trouble. But the good news is they're just kind of stuck fighting some dread spears, a nice low value target, while our good units are still doing damage. Now as they start battering open the gate, I break out the Black Ark abilities, getting a nice attack on that tiny unit of elite Phoenix Guard there, killing a load of them. Here I tried to cauldron these Phoenix Guard, but it doesn't work, not only because they slightly moved, but as we'll see in a second, you actually can't use magic on the gatehouse. Well, you'll see what I mean briefly. Looks like I'm using that other Soulstorm ability thing to hit the left end of our wall, where we have lost all the archers that were up here. Strangely, we've lost them 2 enemy archers. They didn't attack with many melee units. They climbed a load of archers into melee and just took us down, but we did heavy damage back to them. Here's that thing I was alluding to. I tried to use this teardrop attack magic thing on the enemy as they went through the gate, and just kind of got reflected by an invisible force and didn't do any damage. So I think you're just not allowed to use magic too near to the gates. Therefore I've missed out on a bunch of kills. Luckily the enemy are absolutely ruining this for themselves, because as they go through the gate, they're just standing there inside my ring of defending troops and the shades are killing them. Not really sure why, but the AI is just absolutely handing me that gate battle. Back over here at the left end of the wall, I've got some Corsairs trying to hack their way through all these archers. Luckily, the only melee unit that was here, some two-handed swords, was so dead from being shot by towers on the way in that actually we're doing okay with the remaining melee fights. And our cav did take out the enemy bolt throwers. They got killed themselves by enemy cav, but now those cav are going to get killed by my towers, and everything outside the walls is by now dead, although they still have a decent amount inside the walls. That balance bar though is looking good. We are trading efficiently. We've improved our situation quite a lot so far. And the main improvement eventually comes over here, where we've got this big block of many units of archers. They're all damaged from being shot on the way in and having to fight my own guys in melee earlier, which we didn't see in the replay because it didn't last very long, but it happened. And then this happened. The enemy get the army losses morale penalty much earlier than I expected, and even some of their elite units just rout. So this is perfect. Not quite sure how, but I guess we have killed a lot of stuff somewhere. There would have been a lot of kills being picked up in the background at the beginning, where our towers and archers were hitting things. But yes, as it turns out, we killed so much stuff that actually we're going to get away with this. It's going great. Their Phoenix gets killed by some of my hand bows, but we do get the thing where it just pops back at full health, the Phoenix's special ability that triggers sometimes. In this case though we're okay, because it keeps its shattered status, so since it was shattered before it died, it comes back at full health but still with no morale, so it just runs away. This means the battle came down to just taking out their dragon, and after inflicting a bit more damage through sheer attrition, the dragon loses morale and goes away as well. Now I thought we might be able to shoot it from the walls, but many of my archers are almost dead or just aren't paying too close attention. We were pretty lucky though. He started coming back. I'm not sure why. He routed away, then routed towards us, and I thought, oh, we actually are going to get a whole load of shots on that dragon and maybe we can take it down. Although I'm not going to bait you here. Basically it flew up and down our walls for a while and we somehow didn't manage to kill it, and then it actually routed away. So we didn't grab the kill on that enemy hero, enemy lord I should say, sorry. Elsewhere, I'm killing some routing units and we end up with this result. A heroic victory. It actually went really, really well. Did not expect that. I didn't even need the reinforcements I was trying to get over here. I think it was the enemy just absolutely botching it, and maybe their army composition didn't have enough melee troops to effectively take the wall or something. Overall, we have gotten away with that. The 2 Chaos armies don't go any further inland, which is quite good I thought. They're just kind of sailing towards the volcanic islands, meaning they haven't done much, and the volcanic islands have only 2 regions and they're both really heavily fortified, so I was quite happy with this choice of direction from Chaos. I was going to send Yadis to rush towards the volcanic islands to help defend them if Chaos landed, but then I thought no, I won't do that. What I'll do is have Shadesman do that, since he's a bit closer anyway. And Yadis will effectively do what Shadesman was supposed to be doing right now, that is going along the bottom edge of the map towards the Lizardmen, so she will not pay any attention to Chaos now. We need to take out those Skaven, take back that territory, and go west to see what happens. In the meantime, the stuff we captured from the It's a Lizardmen earlier is going to have to just hold on its own. They're all still completely dying of Skaven plague, but they're going to have to just deal with that and hope that no one attacks them, basically. That's the real strategy there. As for Lokir, with the Tlenken business done, I thought we might as well go back southwest. We don't need him to help with the Elves after their humiliating defeat at the Awakening. I was going through the territory of this other Lizardman faction that we haven't really interacted with, and I started thinking maybe I could just attack them and take this place, but after considering it I actually didn't bother. It was because they had some territory elsewhere as well. I didn't want to complicate matters, so I just walked through their territory. And the guys down near the Awakening now team together, putting together almost a whole army, and we go out and finish off the elves. So that's another elvish invasion taken down, keep 'em coming. We're losing a bunch of money, so I realised I need to kind of not have this trash stack. It needs to be at least a bit smaller. It's nice to have like a few units to use for garrisoning and attacking rebels, so I'll keep it somewhat alive, but we won't see too much more from them. As we go into the next turn, I get this call to war from my Dark Elf allies. They want to go to war with the Bretonnians, the Quran version of Bretonnia by the looks of things. Now in this case I just thought, well, that's not so bad, I'll join this war because they're far away, I'm just not going to help. But actually, as it turns out, we are going to end up involved in this war with Quran, or more exactly, they're going to come down and attack me because of me joining the war, so we will see some anti-Bretonnia action in the very near future as a result of that largely pointless decision. I think being allied to the other Dark Elves just doesn't help at all, or might as well just broken the alliance right there. As for Chaos, they continue on towards the volcanic islands, but they're still in the sea, they don't land, they just kind of sneak over towards where Shadesman is. Yadis moves on the Skaven settlement, there's basically nothing here, their army is trash, so we just auto-resolve them to death, and in we go. There is also a small Lizardman army under Gorok nearby, but it's not too threatening looking, no particularly good units, and it's not full-sized, so it's no threat at all to Yadis. And actually she's not called Yadis anymore because she got the name upgrade thing that gives you a special buff. I was able to get one that improves missiles. So like Shadesman is really good with shades, Yadis here is now good with any missile unit. So she is now Miss Missiles, Barb Storm, and yes, she has buffs not only to the shades but also to the hand bows and the bolt throwers. So that's nice, but I think the buff is a bit worse than what Shadesman had for shades, not that I even really remember what that was. And speaking of Shadesman, I actually sail out to attack these two Chaos armies because I can use Lightning Strike to actually attack just the one. Figured that balance bar was probably actually like 1 pixel of enemy strength, and just auto-resolve that without really thinking about it, and actually it went really badly and I was pretty annoyed by this. We lost a Hydra and our hero, 2 of our great sacrificial units. So that's really bad actually. I thought we had a big advantage because Chaos Marauders, which the enemy has a lot of, are an especially bad unit, if I remember correctly, not that I know how they do in this mod. But anyway, we take the win, but with those lost units, I didn't feel like going on to attack the other Chaos army as well, which I was planning to do. I was planning to just auto-resolve them both. But I didn't feel like going on to face either another bad auto-resolve or having to bother fight this army without enough sacrifices, so I ended up not doing this battle that I started setting up here. And instead I waited until the next turn so I can get the new Black Ark Reaver I just recruited, and Chaos just didn't really do anything, so we'll come back to that in a second. Meanwhile, Miss Missiles is pursuing Gorok, who is heading to the west. I decided to set up an ambush here, hoping he might go back for that Subaton place and get killed, otherwise we'll pursue him to his settlement there in the corner. Now I've reinforced Shadesman, and we're back to the same battle we saw before, basically, only we have an extra sacrificial unit. This time, we certainly want to fight it manually and see what this vague balance bar really means. So we'll start off with our potential revenge on Chaos in the next part.